photo of one of the toddlers that is now held hostage, still held hostage in Gaza. And his grandfather wanted me to give it to President Trump.
That's right. We'll get that taken care of.
Earlier today, former President Trump welcomed Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu and his wife Sarah to Mar-a-Lago. A stark contrast to the meetings Netanyahu had at the White House just yesterday, and all of them highly consequential. I'm Erin McLaughlin, in for Gadi Schwartz, and this is Stay Tuned Now. Trump and Netanyahu's meeting today, apparently a good one. That according to the former president. It was the last stop on the prime minister's visit to the U.S. and comes on the heels of two big meetings, one with President Biden and one with presumptive Democratic nominee Vice President Kamala Harris.
Do you feel like after this trip, Mr. Prime Minister, we're any closer to a ceasefire deal?
I hope so, but I think time will tell. We're certainly eager to have one, and we're working on it.
Harris shared sharp criticism about the war in Gaza following her meeting with Netanyahu yesterday, establishing her own position on the war since announcing her candidacy.
What has happened in Gaza over the past 9 months is devastating. The images of dead children. We cannot look away in the face of these tragedies. We cannot allow ourselves to become numb to the suffering, and I will not be silent.
NBC News correspondent Jesse Kirsch joins us now. So, Jesse, how would you compare the Israeli Prime Minister's visit with former President Trump today to yesterday's visit at the White House?
Yeah, so, Erin, I think one of the key differences is the emphasis points that were discussed. So at the White House yesterday, we heard from Vice President Kamala Harris speaking not just about Israeli interests, but also about concerns for how Palestinian people are being treated in Gaza. Contrast that with the meeting today between former President Trump and Prime Minister Netanyahu that really was just emphasizing Israeli interests. So I think that is one of the key differentiating points. And just something else to note about the meeting today, this is the first time that the former president and the prime minister have met in person since Mr. Trump was president of the United States. You remember they had a little bit of a falling out in the aftermath of the 2020 election. This was also a bit of a moment of coming back together, it seems, embraces, smiles when they were meeting with each other today.
Yeah, and on that note, Trump and Netanyahu were on good terms for most of his presidency. But some people may recall, as you're saying, that it really didn't end on the strongest terms. So talk to me a bit more about that. How did it play out today?
Yeah, we heard some pushback on that from the former president. Here's part of what he said when the cameras were allowed in.
It was never bad. I would say it was always good. No president has done what I've done for Israel, and we've always had a very good relationship. And if I didn't, I have a secret weapon. You know what it is? Sarah. You're sitting right over here. I have Sarah. As long as I have Sarah, that's all that matters.
That's former President Trump referring to the prime minister's wife there. But I do want to be clear, Erin, even going back to last fall as the war began between Israel and Hamas, former President Trump did have some criticism to share as far as Mr. Netanyahu's policies and how he was carrying out the war.
Okay, and Jesse, really quick, tell us where you are right now. What are you expecting there tonight?
Yeah, we're at a Turning Point conference. This is specifically focused on faith leaders, and we're going to hear from any moment now former President Trump. And again, this being a faith conference, it'll be interesting to see how he might speak to his experience with the attempted assassination and the calls that we've heard from some people, his supporters, about him potentially having been saved by God. That's one of the lines that we've heard in the aftermath of that shooting. So it'll be interesting to see how he might lean into that, again, in a faith setting.
Jesse Kirsch, thank you for that reporting. And some breaking news tonight as the FBI has confirmed that a bullet did strike former President Trump's ear during that assassination attempt. Earlier this week, FBI Director Christopher Wray testified before Congress saying there was, quote, some question about whether or not it's a bullet or shrapnel that hit the former president. But officials are now confirming that Trump was definitely hit by a bullet. Meanwhile, Harris was endorsed by two of the most influential Democrats, Barack and Michelle Obama.
To my girl Kamala, I am proud of you. This is going to be historic.
We called to say Michelle and I couldn't be prouder to endorse you and to do everything we can to get you through this election and into the Oval Office.
The endorsement comes ahead of a busy weekend for the vice president. Her campaign kicking off her candidacy with what they call the Weekend of Action, holding over 50 events in the state of Nevada alone. NBC News White House correspondent Ali Rafa joins us now. So, Ali, this is a significant endorsement from the Obamas. Are we going to see the Obamas on the campaign trail? And how much of an impact could that have?
Yeah, Aaron, it wasn't too surprising that this endorsement came, but it really can't be underscored enough how critical it is for the now Harris campaign as it really tries to build momentum from the last 5 days and continue that momentum over the next 102 days until Election Day. And we're told from sources familiar that while former President Obama has been in touch with Vice President Harris over the last week, he held off on making this announcement when he did for a couple of reasons. He didn't want it, first of all, to overshadow that big Oval Office address that the president gave on Wednesday night, where he explained to the nation why he was dropping out of the 2024 race. He also wanted this endorsement to stand on its own, not look like he was putting on his finger on the scale for Vice President Harris, and really give Democrats enough time to rally around her and support her before he weighed in on this race. And as far as what we could expect to see next, we're told that aides are trying to figure out the scheduling and the logistics of when they could appear on the campaign trail together. We don't have a formal date on the calendar just yet, but you think of how much more visible and how much more of a role former President Obama was playing in the Biden campaign in recent months. Think of how much more involved he would be over the next 100 or so days for the now Harris campaign, Aaron.
Yeah, and we spoke with Jesse about those sharp words from Vice President Harris on the war in Gaza. How does her stance on the war compare to President Biden's position?
Yeah, there was a lot of attention on specifically her meeting with Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu yesterday and whether there would be any daylight between her stance on the Israel-Hamas war and where we've seen the president stand on that war since it began. And really, after we saw her and not the president come out and deliver these solo remarks after her meeting, it really put to bed any suspicions that these two were not on the same page. We heard her really echo what we've heard from the president over the last few months, continuing to defend Israel's right to defend itself while still expressing concern about the humanitarian situation in Gaza and adding pressure on Netanyahu to agree to that hostage deal proposal that would end this war. And so what we're seeing from Harris after that meeting was really a personal speech. She delivered these remarks that had a personal touch to it. So same message, same really opinion as the president, but just a different delivery, Aaron.
And Harris was also endorsed by a major trades union in Philadelphia today, days after the Pennsylvania governor, Josh Shapiro, gave his own endorsement. Shapiro is apparently on a short list for potential running mates. Really quick before we go, how is the Veep stakes going?
So we're hearing from the Harris campaign, and they are, for the first time, publicly acknowledging that this historically rapid vetting process is now underway. And we're told from sources familiar that the first staff calls to what we know are around a dozen potential candidates. They began on Tuesday, and a Harris campaign spokesperson says in a statement, in part, quote, "We do not expect to have additional updates until the vice president announces who will be serving as her running mate and as the next vice president of the United States. We expect that decision to be made before August 7th. That's a deadline set by the DNC to be able to get both Harris and that running mate on ballots across the country. And the Harris campaign is vowing to stick to that timeline. As far as what we know on these candidates, most of them are Democratic governors from battleground states that would help Harris win in November. And of course, Harris is in a very unique position to be able to be receptive to these running mates, having been in this position herself just a few years ago, Aaron.
Ali Rafa, thank you so much for that reporting. We're following breaking news on the West Coast tonight. In California, wildfires are exploding out of control. state's largest fire doubled in size over the last 48 hours, destroying several buildings and homes. The so-called park fire is burning near Chico. Firefighters there are making little progress so far. Meanwhile, in Oregon, the FAA is now confirming the pilot of an air tanker died while helping fight wildfires in the eastern part of that state. The plane disappeared while fighting the Falls Fire last night. David Noriega joins me now. So, David, a tragic end to this search. How bad are conditions in that part of Oregon right now?
Aaron, between yesterday and today, conditions in Oregon improved a little bit. Yesterday, they were terrible with very high winds, lightning storms, very high temperatures. Today, those temperatures cooled a little bit. The wind slowed down a little bit, and there's been less lightning. That has allowed the crews fighting those fires to make some progress. Yesterday, the Durkee fire, that huge mega fire, the biggest one in the country right now, was 0% contained. Today, it's at 55% contained. The Falls fire, where that plane tragically crashed, killing the pilot, is now 20% contained. That is the only fatality that's been attributed to that fire so far. So things improving. However, experts and state officials caution that those fires are still huge and unpredictable. Aaron?
Okay, so let's talk about California. Are firefighters making any progress there?
It's the opposite story in California, unfortunately, Aaron. Conditions today around the park fire were optimal for that fire to get out of control. High temperatures, fast winds, a ton of very dry vegetation, rugged terrain. That is why that fire is so out of control. Experts describe its behavior as extreme, with a lot of spot fires, meaning embers flying out of the perimeter of that main fire and rapidly growing the perimeter of the fire. This morning, CAL FIRE had that fire at 3% contained and revised that downward to 0%, where it still stands right now. That fire is burning mostly northward, away from the city of Chico and those other population centers south of where the fire was started, allegedly by arson, but it is starting to get north enough to be approaching some other settlements. It has destroyed about 134 structures so far. That's both residential and commercial. So we're going to be looking between today and tomorrow for hopefully some of those conditions to improve and allow some of those crews up there to start making at least a little bit of progress in containing that fire. Aaron?
Wow. Okay. David Noriega, thank you. NBC News meteorologist Angie Lastman is tracking the conditions that fire crews will be facing out west heading into the weekend. Hi, Angie.
Aaron, fire danger remaining in some of those locations here as we get through the rest of our day today and even into tomorrow. Here's some of those alerts that you see. More than 1 million people across this region still under these red flag warnings in parts of Idaho, of course, Oregon, California. You can see those will remain. We've still got the hot and windy conditions on tap, and the potential for dry thunderstorms will remain specifically across Oregon and California here as we get into tomorrow even. Notice the fire weather areas that we're most concerned about. Again, some of those similar spots that the fires continue to burn. We're going to see this last into tomorrow. And on top of that, not a whole lot of rain in the forecast, and we've even got some of that smoke on the move. This is going to be something that we see through the day today and into the rest of the day tomorrow, working through parts of the northern plains. Notice all of these fires that are currently burning. That wind, those upper level winds, are going to work much of this into parts of the Midwest. We'll notice a little bit of a haze, and unfortunately, with the conditions lasting as they are through the weekend, we likely won't see a whole lot in the way of relief with wet weather, but more of those dry thunderstorms and potential lightning issues on the way through the weekend. Back to you.
Angie, thank you. And the 2024 Olympics are officially underway. Earlier today on the famous River Seine, the opening ceremonies kicked off in a big way. NBC News international correspondent Keir Simmons shows us more.
Hey, Aaron. Well, what an opening ceremony. Finished as we suspected, as was predicted by Celine Dion, with the lighting of the cauldron, which is just along the river here from me. Look at the Eiffel Tower sparkling behind me there. It really was incredible, from the performance from Lady Gaga to seeing LeBron James and Coco Gauff carry the Team USA flag on the Team USA boat along the Seine just here as they headed to the Trocadero for the celebration as athletes mingled. I tell you, one of the things that I really loved about it is that, you know, with opening ceremonies that you see at previous Olympics, and of course this was a history-making opening ceremony. Previous opening ceremonies, you'd kind of you'd have the performance and then you'd have the athletes parade. But of course, here what you had, because the athletes were on boats and it took time for them to travel that 4 miles along the river, here what you had was the kind of the performances and the celebration alongside the parade, and it made it really entertaining. Another part too, of course, was that the Team USA boat was the second from last because the US will host the next Summer Games. That's the tradition, and that meant that it really built the momentum, and in the end the finale was fantastic as we saw them come by here. It was a really great night. It poured with rain, the first time that an opening ceremony has seen rain like this in decades. Poor old Paris, but in a way, it made it better because you watch the athletes battling through the weather before they battle each other for those Olympic golds.
Welcome back. Here are some of the other headlines we're watching tonight. 2 people are dead after a small plane crashed in Maine. The FAA says the plane traveling from New Jersey was trying to land yesterday at an airport near Bar Harbor. It crashed at the bottom of the runway and caught fire. The FAA and NTSB are investigating. For the third time this month, an inmate has been mistakenly released from a New Mexico jail. 44-year-old Desiree Sanchez was accidentally released on Wednesday. She was being held on charges related to armed robbery and aggravated battery. 2 of the 3 released inmates are still at large. Lawyers for Justin Timberlake arguing in a New York courtroom today that the pop singer was not intoxicated during a traffic stop last month. You remember Justin Timberlake was arrested on a DWI charge in the Hamptons. His lawyers asked the judge to dismiss the case. The judge ruled that Timberlake must appear in court either physically or virtually for an arraignment on August 2nd. Just yesterday, we told you about a new weapon detection system coming to New York City subway stations. Well, today, the scanners were installed just in time for the evening commute. At least for now. It's part of a 30-day pilot program. The city will decide the next steps after that. And the Shed Aquarium in Chicago just welcomed a new resident, a baby beluga whale. The mama, a 35-year-old Naya, gave birth on Wednesday. This is the first beluga born at the Shed since 2020. The sex and paternity yet to be confirmed, but the aquarium says the baby is nice and healthy and spending lots of time with its mom. So cute. In Illinois, an autopsy report confirms that Sonya Massey died from a gunshot wound to the head. We've been telling you all week about the death of the 36-year-old. She was shot inside her home by a sheriff's deputy after calling 911 for help. The attorney for her family talking today about the tragedy.
She was trying to get help. She needed a helping hand, not a bullet to the face.
That's right.
She just needed those officers to extend an ounce of humanity, not to kill her.
The sheriff's deputy involved has been fired and is facing several charges. We're also learning new information today about his past. Joining us now, NBC News correspondent Maggie Vespa with the latest. So, Maggie, what else did we learn from the autopsy results?
Yeah, so Aaron, we learned that not only did 36-year-old Sonya Massey, not only was she shot in the head, she specifically was shot in the bottom of her left eye. And the coroner says that that bullet actually traveled downward through her skull and exited the base of her neck. And essentially her family and civil rights attorney Ben Crump say what that shows is that she was shot at a downward trajectory. In other words, that the deputy was standing and shot at her as she was crouching down to the ground, which is appears to be what we saw in that body camera video. You see her say, "I'm sorry," after the deputy pulls his weapon and then crouch down to the ground before those multiple shots were fired. Also, the family kind of unveiling a number of sort of updates and their own investigation into this and kind of their own questions that they're asking. Massey's son, Malachi, says that he was actually at his mom's home the day before the shooting. There's that body camera video from the night of the shooting. He says he was at her home the day before and says that 2 deputies, he believes it may be the same ones. But I want to be clear, we have not clarified or confirmed that with the sheriff's office. But he says that those deputies were at his mom's house the day before and that she left the scene after calling them there for an unknown reason to get mental health treatment for herself. And Attorney Ben Crump says that it's one of several things they're looking into, just kind of pointing to that this never should have happened in the first place, and the department, they believe, was aware she was suffering from issues. Here's part of what he had to say today.
I'm sure we can find out who went on the call earlier. Was it the same officers or not? And then did they have body camera video then, and so forth, and can we find that out? We're just trying to get to the truth of what happened, man, because what happened on that video was not right, it was senseless, and it was unjustified.
And at this point, Aaron, the family tells us that the Sangamon County Sheriff's Office has not reached out to them directly, and they're angry about that as well. They want a lot of conversations and a lot of answers in the wake of this.
And Maggie, we found out late today that Vice President Kamala Harris spoke to Massey's family. What was her message?
She did. So basically, Massey's father and cousin told us that she called them late today. This is exclusive reporting from NBC News. Long story short, Massey's father told us that Vice President Harris said she was 100% with them. She called this killing of Sonya Massey tragic. And she also talked about how she says we need to reform, or there needs to be reforms when it comes to hiring practices of police officers and of deputies. We found out through our reporting that Deputy Grayson, now former Deputy Grayson, worked for 6 local agencies in the last 4 years. And you can see, again, those are some of the sort of revelations that have been uncovered by our digital team. And that during his 2 years prior to working in local law enforcement in 2015 and 2016, when he was serving in the Army, he pleaded guilty on 2 occasions to driving under the influence. The sheriff's office responded to us today, telling us essentially that Grayson went through all the proper protocol to be vetted and hired, being vetted by multiple local and state boards and commissions. You see those there. And that at the time, you can see at the end, they knew about the DUI convictions. He also adds Grayson was given a general honorable discharge from the military and went on to defend his hiring of the deputy. It's, of course, worth noting Grayson has since been fired in the wake of this shooting. Aaron.
Maggie Vespa, thank you for that reporting. Tonight, an inside look at a 2-year investigation that threatened to bring felony charges against 3 Texas librarians. Yes, you heard that right. Records obtained by NBC News and our Dallas-Fort Worth station reveal it was all over books one local law enforcement official deemed obscene. NBC5 senior investigative reporter Scott Friedman has the story.
You've seen police body camera videos, but maybe never like this.
Essentially, the librarians are my suspects. If they're the ones that are choosing books and putting them in there, they're the ones that are carrying the criminal liability.
You're watching a Texas County constable informing a school superintendent that the school librarians are suspected of crimes. The constable visits Granbury, Texas schools in May of 2022, searching for library books he suspects are obscene and attempting to question the librarians who are now targets of a criminal investigation.
If you want to hear what I have to say, you're welcome to stay. And if you don't, you can go back to the library. But I wanted to afford you the opportunity to sit down and hear what I have to say and see if you wanted to say anything or not.
NBC News obtained the videos through an open records request, along with a more than 800-page case file. It reveals the constable drafted criminal complaints and submitted them to a district attorney, seeking felony charges against 3 librarians for distributing harmful materials to minors.
These women that are amazing educators and librarians have been terrified for over 2 years now that they're going to get arrested, hauled off to jail on a felony charge.
Local attorney Paul Hyde has spoken with 2 of the librarians since the early days of the investigation. Hyde served on a parent committee that voted to keep some of the controversial books in the libraries and says book debates should be resolved by school boards, not with handcuffs.
Law enforcement had no business being involved in this debate whatsoever.
We've seen some investigations into libraries, but this went a lot further. You had here police putting together indictments and preparing for an arrest of librarians. And
Free speech attorney Adam Steinbaugh tracks the nation's culture wars over books and says the Granbury case appears to be one of the most extensive attempts to prosecute librarians. In Granbury, the district attorney ultimately declined to file charges in April, telling the constable in an email the evidence was insufficient to prove a felony. NBC News is not identifying the librarians because they were not charged with any crimes, and they've declined to speak with us about the investigation. Case records show the books targeted by the constable include The Bluest Eye by Nobel Prize-winning author Toni Morrison, often taught in high school literature classes, but for decades it's generated controversy over its depiction of sexual abuse. Under Texas law, a book cannot be deemed harmful to children just because it has explicit content. The book must also be found to have no redeeming social value for minors.
I'm doing a criminal investigation into some of your staff.
The constable, Scott London, launched his investigation after two women who wanted a list of books removed from schools say London approached them and asked if they would file a complaint. London has acknowledged contacting the women after hearing them speak at a Republican meeting. He told us in 2022 that he reviewed the pornography statute with them, and they filed a report because they believed there was a case. London declined an interview request for this report and did not respond to detailed questions we sent. London is a former New Mexico sheriff and supporter of the far-right constitutional sheriffs movement, even appearing at constitutional sheriff training events captured in social media photos. The movement promotes the idea that local law enforcement officers can disregard laws they personally deem unconstitutional. In an interview for a report that aired months after the library investigation began, London denied that his political or personal views influenced his decision to investigate.
It has nothing to do with the Constitution.
The nation's oldest library association says the investigation is chilling.
No library professional, no educational professional should face these threats for simply doing the job and attempting to serve the needs of their students or serve the needs of their community.
A case that stirred a community and astonished librarians across America. Scott Friedman, NBC News, Dallas.
We reached out to Granbury ISD and Superintendent Jeremy Glenn. In a statement, the school district tells us Granbury ISD respects the due diligence of the district attorney and wholeheartedly agrees that this investigation was without merit. We look forward to putting this behind us and welcoming back our students and staff for a great school year in the coming weeks. Coming up, tens of thousands of pounds of deli meat pulled off store shelves. The serious health concerns prompting Boar's Head to issue a major recall. But first, you gotta see this. A diving team in Sweden discovered some refreshing treasure in a boat wreck in the Baltic Sea. The team, Baltic Tech, found a 19th century sailing ship still in good condition and discovered, get this, more than 100 bottles of sealed champagne and mineral water. Back then, mineral water was reserved for royals, and shipments were usually escorted by the police. But I guess this shipment was a bit delayed. Talk about champagne problems. We'll be right back. Welcome back. Here are some of the stories happening out west that we're following. In Arizona, 13 hikers are now safe after getting lost in the mountains near Scottsdale. Fire crews rescued them after they were found under a tree. The group went missing this morning after going off trail. 3 children were among them. One of them got heat exhaustion, but is going to be okay. Bird flu isn't just affecting chickens. Some people are getting it too. Yesterday in Colorado, 3 poultry workers were found to have bird flu. Officials say they caught it after working with infected chickens at an egg farm. This brings the total number of human cases in the U.S. to 13 this year. And in western Montana, thousands of people still don't have power after storms barreled through the area Wednesday night. The rain and wind brought down trees and power lines. Northwestern Energy, the electrical company serving the area, says they brought back service for about 20,000 people, and they're working to fix the rest of the outages. Tonight, the FDA is out with a new alert about a kitchen pantry staple, cinnamon. Yes, cinnamon, specifically from this company. It's called El Servidor, and it's based in New York. Through testing, it was discovered to have lead levels at 20 parts per million. That's highly elevated. The UN said about 1/10 of that much is considered safe. Let's bring in NBC News correspondent Akshay Sayal. Thank you so much for joining us. So has anyone gotten sick from this cinnamon, and how did all this come about?
Hey, Aaron, so this actually started late last year when we started to notice that, well, some parents started to notice that their kids had elevated levels of lead. They actually traced this back to some applesauce pouches that had, you know, as you said, extremely high levels of lead in it, and they really traced it to cinnamon. So what the FDA has been doing is testing ground cinnamon to see how far this outbreak extends. And what you're seeing here, that brand on the screen, is the latest that the FDA is warning about, really having levels almost 10 times higher than what should be found in food. And so for those out there, I think this really is concerning for young kids, because when you have high levels of lead in young kids, you can start to affect their IQ. They can do lower on test scores and really be left with permanent long-term damage. So really the best thing to do is to reduce your intake of cinnamon, at least until we figure this all out, Aaron.
Yeah, and some supermarkets are closing their delis because of another recall.
Yeah, it's a big week in the food recall business, I guess. You know, we have as you read just a few minutes ago, we have boar's head. About 200,000 pounds of sliced deli meat is being recalled, Aaron, and a lot of deli shops are actually closing their counters until this, one, gets figured out, and two, to decontaminate all their machinery. This is really, really important, Aaron, for those who are pregnant, for those who are over the age of 65, and those with weak immune systems. The CDC is actually recommending you avoid all deli meat, not even just boar's head, and if you must eat it, to heat it to 165 degrees. But really, most people will be fine, but if you are in those age groups, you really want to be extra mindful here, Aaron.
Welcome back. Let's take a quick look around the world. In a major development, Sinaloa cartel leaders Joaquin Guzman Lopez, the son of El Chapo, and Ismael Almayo Garcia were arrested in Texas. Guzman allegedly tricked Zambada into flying to the U.S. to gain favorable treatment from authorities. Guzman was taken to Chicago, while Zambada remains in El Paso awaiting trial. Both men face multiple charges related to drug trafficking. A fire in Bulgaria at a firework factory left one person dead and another critically injured. The explosions began late in the afternoon and created huge mushroom clouds visible across the city. The Interior Minister confirmed that a 49-year-old man died from injuries, while his 20-year-old daughter is in critical condition. The search continues for two men missing from the scene. Russian drones struck energy facilities in two Ukrainian regions overnight, causing widespread power outages. Ukraine's power grid operator reported more than 68,000 people lost electricity, with 30,000 still affected. Ukrainian air defenses intercepted 20 of the 22 drones sent by Russia. These attacks come as Ukraine begins large-scale electricity imports from the European Union due to the crumbling electric grid. Well, sharks off the coast of Brazil might be doing more than just swimming. They're now testing positive for cocaine. A new study reveals that all 13 sharks examined had traces of the drug in their systems. While the impact on these ocean predators is still unknown, researchers also found high levels of pollutants like metals and pesticides. And now to Venezuela, where voters are getting ready for a historic election. NBC's Gadi Venegas breaks down what the outcome could mean for the country and the region.
Venezuela prepares for a historical presidential election this weekend. On Sunday, 6 a.m., the voters will go to the polls, with Nicolás Maduro seeking a third term, but now facing a united opposition. After he was able to defeat the opposition twice, things could change, with the voters going to the polls on Sunday and deciding the future of Venezuela. A pivotal election in Venezuela this weekend, leaving millions there and around the world questioning whether a free and fair election is even possible. President Nicolás Maduro himself teasing at a rally that the outcome could be dangerous if he is not reelected.
Si no quieren que Venezuela caiga en un baño de sangre, garanticemos el más grande éxito, la más grande victoria.
Neighboring Brazil's president saying he's scared by Maduro's remarks, while the U.S. making it clear
that we're watching closely.
Maduro mobilizing the military, opening checkpoints throughout the country in the roundup to Sunday. Soldiers parading with ballot boxes.
And they have a horrible record of fraudulent elections.
But it wasn't always the case. The country, once a thriving democracy, Hugo Chavez elected in a populist wave in 1999, then ruling with an iron fist, holding on to power until his death from cancer in 2013, when Maduro, his hand-picked successor, took over. Maduro's rule, fraught with skyrocketing inflation and a mass exodus, with about a fifth of Venezuela's population leaving, according to the UN. But his grip over his government remains.
They control all of the institutions, but in particular, they control the electoral tribunal. And so the rules have been defined by the government.
In 2018, President Maduro claiming re-election, but the National Assembly declaring the results invalid, leading to Juan Guaidó stepping up and declaring himself the interim president, a move the U.S. recognized for a few years, but Guaidó ended up fleeing Venezuela with a warrant out for his arrest. Now, Maduro's opposition, Edmundo González Urrutia, a 74-year-old stand-in candidate for the person widely believed to be the bigger challenger, Maria Corina Machado, a politician known as Venezuela's Iron Lady. She's opposed Chavez and Maduro for decades, ramping up support from thousands.
There's no question that she is the most important political figure in Venezuela.
But a government ban on her running for public office upheld in January. It's not stopping the opposition from rallying for a mass turnout and monitoring for any election intimidation on Sunday, and as many more consider leaving the country if things don't change.
In tonight's Future of Everything, we've got a double dose happening through the weekend in Nashville, crypto and politics. The biggest Bitcoin event of the year is underway, but the list of expected speakers is topped by GOP headliners, former President Donald Trump and Vivek Ramaswamy. And independent presidential candidate RFK Jr. spoke today. It seems like the crypto world could play a role in the 2024 election. Let's bring in CNBC reporter Mackenzie Segalos, who's at the conference. So, Mackenzie, break down what's playing out at the conference. How friendly is crypto getting with former President Trump, and why?
Well, it's friendlier than it's ever been, and that's because this relationship is mutually beneficial right now. On the crypto side, they see Donald Trump as the regulatory ally that they have been waiting for. Sources have told me that the former president is being advised on a staffing shakeup at the SEC to make it softer on crypto. And we're also waiting to hear if Trump has anything to say about the Fed's role in Bitcoin, which could include potentially holding it as a reserve asset. Now, as for what Trump gets, well, it's money. He's holding a fundraiser after he speaks at the conference on Saturday, and tickets top out at more than $840,000. Just this week, we heard the Trump campaign say that it's raised $4 million in crypto, and they're hoping that that number keeps going up. Now, a lot of that money can be traced back to Silicon Valley, where crypto-focused venture capitalists are pledging millions to get Trump elected, whether through direct contributions or writing checks to crypto-friendly super PACs. Aaron?
Okay, so what are people saying about where Vice President Harris stands when it comes to crypto?
Yeah, so like I mentioned, Trump does have the backing of some in Silicon Valley, but new reporting from NBC News today finds that the VP is looking to cozy up to a similar set of people. We see so much overlap between crypto and between Silicon Valley, and we're seeing her team looking to win over support from some of big tech's undecided voters. These are the people who stayed on the sidelines while President Joe Biden was in the race. Their tune may be changing now that Vice President Harris is the de facto nominee for the party. It helps that Harris has a long track record in California. She's been fundraising in the tech community for years, including from those working at Amazon, Alphabet, and other big names in the space.
Okay, so let's talk big picture. Who is backing who? And what are you hearing about major Silicon Valley executives?
Well, broadly speaking, in terms of Silicon Valley, on the VC side of things, you've got Sequoia Capital, A16Z co-founders that are all coming in line behind Trump. You've got the Winklevoss brothers. Again, these are billionaire investors who also are deeply embedded within the crypto community. You've got the PayPal mafia. So a lot of the co-founders of that coalition, Elon Musk being one of them, who've really fallen in line behind Trump in this very unprecedented, shift to the right by Silicon Valley. But meanwhile, they've got this reporting today from NBC News pointing to the fact that, Kamala Harris's team, the vice president's team, really feels as though that now that she is the, she's coming out strong in this presidential race, that she might be able to shift the tide side back. So definitely a lot of people keen to hear what Trump has to say tomorrow and whether that, influences the conversation.
That does it for us tonight. I'm Erin McLaughlin. We'll see you Monday, but until then, stay tuned now.
Thanks for watching. Stay updated about breaking news and top stories on the NBC News app or follow us on social media.